Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to Middle Grade Monday. This was created by Storm Reads, and I'm just joining along to talk about some of my favorite middle grade books. And we have a very, very weird one today because I'm going to be talking about The Magic Pudding by Norman Lindsay. This was published in 1918, and it's an absolute weird classic of middle grade books here in Australia. For those who don't know, Norman had a very long career, but not as an author really, as an illustrator, because he worked for the Bulletin, which is a big famous journal. He worked there in from 1900 all the way until 1958, and then he lived for like another 10 years. He also had a career in art and hills and valleys, but ultimately was very successful in his creative endeavors, but never crossed over internationally. He kind of just stayed like a major Australian figure pretty much. But early on in his career, again, 1917 or whatever, Norman had a friendly argument with a friend of his named Bertman Stevens, who's a literary critic, and they pretty much argued that Burton believed that children wanted fairies and like whimsy in their kid stories and all that. Well, Norman was like, no, kids want action and food and fun stuff like that. And so they had a bit of an argument, and then they went home to write novels to prove their point and publish it to see people's reaction. And this Norman's book absolutely took off and left Burton in the absolute dust, which is kind of crazy to think that a bet inspired one of the biggest, best-selling children's books in the country. But what is this book about? What's the magic pudding about? Well, this book is divided up into 4 chapters, or as it's called in the book, slices, which I actually kind of do love. And we follow an uncle and a cousin. They're koalas, and a sailor and a very large penguin, right? And they are all protecting the magic pudding, and his name's Albert. And Albert is just, I don't even know how to describe him. He's cranky, he's a diva, he's, have the audacity to be around these other people. He's just so, he comes alive so much, and I'll show you some of the illustrations of him here because I don't know, pudding, that's not really much of an Australian thing anymore, at least, but as we can see here, there's the magic pudding right there. And I'll show you some of the illustrations too, because Norman did illustrate it too. And this is what the 2 koalas look like. It's very pretty. But yeah, so you got these random group of animals and one human trying to protect this magic pudding, because whenever you, take a scoop of the pudding out, it regrows, so he's magic. But again, he's very angry and cranky. And while they're taking care of him, because there's people trying to kidnap him pretty much, they're called, I'm trying to remember what they are, they're the pudding thieves, and it's literally a possum, a bandicoot, and a wombat. And it's just those 3 trying to kidnap the magic pudding from these random people. And it is insane. I don't want to spoil it that much. And it's done pretty much clashing and brawling and just fighting in the Australia bush, pretty much, with a weird ending that I can't even begin to describe what happens, and I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, that's your middle grade book for today, The Magic Pudding by Norman Lindsay. It is a very weird novel, I will say. It's full of slapstick humor, violence, and like it's just really witty dialogue too, which I really appreciated. Coming back to reread it again, I've talked about this book during Oslet of like a couple months ago. The illustrations here I actually really love too. I'm sure that there's like a big hardcover illustrated edition. I don't know, probably there is. I need to look out for it. Kind of the same with Dot the Kangaroo or something like that. But it's just a really chaotic, charming classic. Many memorable moments. And I didn't grow up with this book, to be honest, but I'm glad I went back to read it as an adult. And yeah, it deserves to be an Australian classic. And unlike a lot of other middle grade books we've talked about so far, it really doesn't have like an underlayer of misery and sadness to it, which is very different compared to some other books we've talked about so far, or even just in Oz books in general. But Magic Pudding is just charmingly chaotic in the best way possible, and again, you could probably find this on like Gutenberg and all that because it's surely in the public domain by this point. And yeah, go give it a try. It's very much worth a read. It's very short and have fun with it because it's a very fun ride. But yeah, have you read The Magic Pudding? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.